Blog Talk Radio.
And happy Sunday evening, folks. After a week's hiatus and a little bit of studio equipment malfunction, I am back to give you the fastest power hour in racing, the Dirt Talk Hour. We got some new equipment, so hopefully it's going to work out for us okay. And we are brought to you by the fine folks over at 110 Sports Nation, YellowCautionFlags.com, and Chris Creighton. And, Chris, I know you guys had some rain down there in your neck of the woods this weekend, but next weekend around here for us, we get going. I know you guys have already got a round in the books. What do you think, man? Is it time to get 2016 up and running?
Yeah, it's been a little wet around here, Damien. We're trying to dry out now. I haven't got any reports from any major flooding at any racetracks. I know Hattiesburg Speedway was checked on Friday, and all still look good over there. Wyandott's looking good as well. They got the Battle of the States rescheduled for the 29th. Unfortunately, rain canceled the show this weekend. A lot of prep goes into these big races, and the last thing you want to do is kick the season off with a rain out. But guess what, race fans? Just sign on up. Come on down there the 29th and spend your Easter weekend with us at Wyandotte Motorsports Park. Glad to be back on the air. Dirt Talk Hour with the Midwest guy. He misses this show. He's going to earn him a new show.
I do.
He's going to earn his own show here pretty soon. But it's been. Hey, I tell you what. It's just been great to have a companion like you, and I've been kind of blessed to have good co-hosts in these shows. I had Steve there for a little while. I was his co-host, and now you've been mine. And I tell you what, it's been real fun, man. I think we blasted the audience with some awesome interviews and stuff, and they're even saying that that we're kind of like the Larry King of Dirt Talk. So how about that for?
Yeah. I heard
that
last week.
Suspenders, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. We've consistently given the audience some really big name drivers and had some really in-depth conversations and learned some things about some guys that we may not have otherwise known. But it's been great working with you. I know you got a lot going on down there, and absolutely, the talent that is involved in all of this with Steve and Racing with Big Sweat to the ladies that have their new show about NASCAR that's going on, and everything that Mr. CJ Sports does to keep this going. Man, I'm telling you, it's been an honor. Shout out to 110 Nation Sports. Without Mr. CJ Sports, Yellow Caution Flag wouldn't be back on the air right now. And of course, if you don't know about Damien was sitting at home there for about a year, and I hit him up. He was a listener to my old show, and I liked his voice when he come on my show, and I hit him up. I said, "Man, what are you doing?" He said, "Well, not much. I'm kind of in retirement." And I asked him if he wanted to get together and do this gig, and man, like I said, it's just been a really good roller coaster ride. Like, this was better than Batman coming out at Six Flags in Atlanta back when I was young. So yeah, it's definitely been a ride though. And I think I'm getting my voice back. I got some promoters happy because it sounds like my voice is starting to finally heal. So they said, you're putting too much into that radio show, man. I was like, no, I'm getting it fine-tuned. So, I'm ready for another good show tonight. Damn. Yeah, we got a couple of really good guests coming on. We're going to talk to Rusty Schlenk. He's going to tell us about that amazing year, and he was so close last year. Him and Bobby Pierce battled, almost all the way down to the end, and I can probably call it almost exactly to the race whenever the chase for the champion slipped out of Rusty's hands. But we're going to talk to him about that, what he's got going on, and a cool little thing that he does every year. And we're going to talk to Tony Jackson Jr. He'll be joining us here in just a couple minutes. He's going to talk about winning the toilet bowl down there in Clarksville last weekend. We're going to have him on, talk to him.
All right, now, producer, we need the toilet flushing now. Come on now. Step it up, producer.
I've always wondered what these guys do with those toilets. You look at all the trophies and the hardware they got in their man cave. I wonder if anybody's ever actually hooked the toilet up and used it. if you have a toilet bowl in your shop that is actually being used, and it was a trophy that's actually being used, please send us a picture. It'll go viral, I promise.
Oh, yeah. That's probably what I would do with it more than likely.
That's what I would do with it.
Yeah, his story is kind of interesting to me because his story is definitely kind of interesting to me because most people start their racing careers off on dirt, and their ultimate goal is to make it to pavement racing and go asphalt racing. Well, Tony did kind of ass backwards a little bit. He started in pavement racing, and then, the circumstances for him to go late model racing are pretty interesting. We're going to ask him about that when he joins us here in a little while. But some big news I wanted to touch on last week. Yes,
Damien, we got to make a correction there. Okay,
what's that?
In the Missouri, it may be ass backwards. If you're from Alabama, you was raised to say bass backwards. Okay. Bass backwards. Yeah, bass backwards. So it keeps you from getting in trouble with Mom, I promise.
Yeah, something I wanted to hit on last week, but I was unfortunately unable to make the show, and I think, Chris, you did a fine job covering in my absence. I was kind of involved via the texter, but didn't have any way to get on to the show, but obviously we got that taken care of. But big news announced this December 15th through the 17th right here in St. Louis, in my own backyard at the Edward Jones Dome. We're going to have the first indoor modified late model event in, I think, 26 or 27 years. The last time they did it was, I believe, in Minnesota, I do believe. And they're calling it the Gateway Dirt Nationals. 20,000 to win late models, 10,000 to win modifieds, 5,000 for the prelim nights, and it's going to be I think they're going to do like a little 5th mile indoors, and I'm really looking forward to this. I think this is going to be a pretty big show because I've seen already they've got some of the biggest and the best in the Midwest that have already signed up to be there, so you need to make the trip up here for this one, Chris.
I'm kind of down for it, Damien, but the thing is do I need to bring my oxygen mask?
No, the dome is pretty well venulated. That's where they have the Supercross races. That's where the monster truck comes. The ventilation system in there is really good. I've never really had a problem, especially with the 2-cycle stuff that goes in with the Supercross guys. But I can't wait, man. Right. Even if it does, I mean, bring it on.
Well, the thing about that dome is, it was one of the actual newer domes. I know that most stadiums have gone to retractable stadiums instead of domes, but I do think that one was actually built in the late 90s. So it's probably one of the newest domes still out there. So, and it has held several big-time indoor events, I believe even monster trucks as well, right?
Oh, annually, every year. That's the regular stop for the monster trucks when they come here. That's the annual stop for Supercross when they come here. I don't think I can remember any other form of motorsports. I could be wrong, but annually that's a regular stop for those two every year. But hey, man, I wanted to get your opinion. What do you think about the incident between Chris Madden and Scott Bloomer's crew chief down at Smoky Mountain over the weekend?
It's racing and happens. I think it's good for the sport. I don't think there was anything wrong with it. I expected kind of similar today with NASCAR, man. I mean, I like the way the boys handled it. I mean, they were cool with each other racing like that. So I think, in reality, it's something they could have handled it different for sure, but it'll make the headline. So.
Oh yeah. For those of you who may not have heard what exactly happened, Friday night at the Smoky Mountain Raceway there in Tennessee, Chris Madden was sitting in post. Now, if I get the story correctly, he was sitting in post-race tech line or something to that effect, and Scott Bloomquist's crew chief rides by in a little pit bike, and nobody will ever know except for those two exactly what was said, but it is a fact that his crew chief told him he was number one with a hand gesture, and, well, let's just say he didn't stay on his bike very much longer because he got a little bit of a trunk shot from Madden from the race car, and, yeah, could have ended bad, but I guess he got his point across, huh?
Yeah, I guess you stay out of guys' pits, man. I mean, he was passing on a little motorcycle. His hair was, he was like Fabio going down the pit aisle. Kind of just over there gives him a whole look. We all know he's Mr. So. The trolls out there are going to be all over us. But hey, Bloomquist is Bloomquist, and sometimes you need the rival in the sport. I think that's probably a very important piece to racing. And like I said, you had two guys today that rubbed each other, and they were good about it. And then you got somebody like Bloomquist who gives the old number one, a battle pursues. Now, was that the actual reason why they took the race win away from him? Damian, fill me in on all this, because I'm really just now hearing.
No, he was disqualified from last night's racing because of that incident, and Scott Bloomquist did go on to win that race last night. Picked up $15,000 at the Smoky Mountain Raceway, but it may have been planned all along. We'll never know. I mean, there could be little mind tricks going on, but it's Bloomer. Anything's possible.
Bloomer did it again. He did it again. Look at him now. In that strategy, would you have done things different if you were Bloomquist?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say what you would do in the heat of the moment, but whether it was warranted or whether you feel it wasn't warranted.
I wouldn't give Bloomquist any favors. You don't have to. He goes out there and he earns it the hard way, and if that's the way he outsmarted his competition, well, go be it. He is an American bat, and I'd put him in the category with Kid Rock and Hank Williams, man. I mean, it's just the way he is.
Well, we mentioned a little bit earlier about our lineup we was going to have for you on the show, folks, and as luck would have it, through the magic of radio, we are joined now by this year's Toilet Bowl winner, Mr. Tony Jackson Jr. How you doing, sir?
Good, how are you?
Oh, we're just getting ever so closer to race season as spring's finally knocking on the door, and I know you started your year off on a good note on that Longhorn chassis down there, man. Tell us about that weekend.
Yeah, it was definitely a good way to start the season in a new car and new season. So just all in all, it was a very successful weekend.
Yeah, to go down there Friday night. Now, was that was your first time in that new Longhorn by Weaver, was it not?
Yep. Yeah, the practice rained out there, so.
So you get down there on Friday night, having
2 laps of hot laps and 2 laps of qualifying, and it was time to race. So.
Right. So you set fast time out of, I think it was 29 or 30 cars down there. You win your heat race. You run in second on Friday night. You come back Saturday night. You win another heat race, and you go out there and you finally get the trophy. I mean, you've driven some great cars. You've had GRTs built by Fry, Rockets by Lanigan. What is it about these Longhorns, man? Everybody that gets them is just going out and making a statement with them.
I don't know. It seems like every car I've had, we've had success with, but sometimes just the kind of racing or the people you race with or whatever the situation might be, it just sometimes it's good to have a change and with the sponsors and everybody that helps my race team, they make it possible for us to do stuff like that. So it looked like a lot of them guys were having good success, and I've known Randy for a long time, so it was a good. So far, so good, but definitely a good switch.
Now, speaking of success, I mean, I don't think the car more or less makes the success of the definitely what you've been able to accomplish the last few years for people listening that may not know the name, but man, you're coming off 3 straight Mars championships, man. I mean, you've definitely been dominant the last couple of years, no matter what car you've been in. I mean, 3 straight championships in a tough series. I mean, how was you able to pull that off, man?
Oh, just good race cars and a lot of good help and good sponsors, and we're able to race full time. A lot of the teams that we race with aren't able to do that, and just making sure that our race cars are ready to race and ready to perform when we get to the racetrack. But and where we race at, we got Terry Phillips and Stovall the Simpsons and just everybody from this area. It just seems like it's just hard to win, period, here, and then kind of gets you more amped up for whenever the national series comes in. You're kind of already ready for them. Everybody that runs good out in this area, they have good success with the national guys too. So just a testament to show you how tough the competition is every week out here.
Absolutely. Now, talking about the competition and where you're from, growing up where you did, and I'm a fellow Missourian myself, but when you were growing up, who was you looking at as a kid? Who was your heroes growing up other than your dad, obviously?
Yeah, definitely my dad. He obviously got me into racing, but Terry's dad, Larry, he just, he was always real good to my dad and kind of helped him out. And my dad always raced a lower class than Larry, and he kind of, helped him and told him what to do. And then whenever I had a late model, that was when Larry was just getting out of racing with his health and everything. So he helped me quite a bit, and so definitely Larry Phillips. And then on the dirt side of it, whenever that happened, Bill Fry, and he's a good friend with my dad, so Bill and Terry's helped me get started in the dirt. And my relationship with Lanigan has, obviously took me to the next level of my racing, and showed me how to make sure you're ready to go to the racetrack. And that's the main thing, is Daryl's facility and how he prepares race cars, second to none. He's very good at what he does.
What now? This is Chris from Yellow Caution Flag. I've got a question. Do you typically stay at the same track, or do you kind of float around? I know in the Midwest there's a lot of tracks within that little circle area. Tell us about that. Do you just stay local, and wait on the big boys to come see y'all, or do you actually travel out?
Yeah, we travel out. We don't actually get to race very close to home very much, but we'll race generally 3 to 4 hours from the house is a typical Mars race, but the MLRA stuff is about the same distance away, so about any time we go to race, it's a 3 or 4 hour drive.
Now let's talk a little bit about what I found interesting, as I was talking about earlier, is a lot of guys, when they start racing, they start off in dirt with the goal to get to pavement racing, but you started off in pavement and then ended up in dirt. How did that happen?
Our local track was asphalt, and obviously when you're a kid, your goal is to get to NASCAR or whatever. I guess that's everybody's goal, but we started out, and then when the track went dirt, we didn't really have the money to travel, so it was either buy a dirt car or don't race. So we bought a dirt car and started just racing locally, and just from winning and sponsors and just everything going good and coming together, we were able to start traveling and doing some regional stuff. And in 2010, we ran the truck series, but that kind of made me just look overall and kind of put racing in perspective. And it's just, I'm friends with some of the NASCAR guys, and it's just a lot's changed since 10 or 15 years ago when you kind of go out and show your talent and take and kind of stay at the top of the game, but now it's about who has the sponsor or whatever can bring the most money, I guess, but maybe not. Right. Basically, that's how it works. But we've been interviewing a lot of young guys on several of the radio shows that I've done, and the environment's definitely changed. We have a great host on one of our other shows, Steve Billmer, and he was an ARCA car owner, and the environment now is basically sit down at the table, what do you bring to the table, and that kind of opens the door for the ride. So and it's unfortunate, I think, because a lot of great talent is stuck in-house now because of that. Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of good race car drivers out there, and 10, 15, 20 years ago, a car owner seen you racing, and they had sponsors that were with them, so you might get chose, and you didn't really have any say so, or you might not even know the sponsor that was with that team. And now it seems like you can go out and, if you can find you a $1 million sponsor, you might have a full-time ride. So it's just instead of them finding you, it's kind of like people are approaching them now with money. So it's just kind of all changed. But with that being said, the dirt's more challenging, and we go to different racetracks. Stuff changes throughout the night. It's just a lot more exciting and a lot. In my opinion, it's just a lot harder racing. So we don't do very much pavement racing anymore, but it's fun and I enjoy it. But I think that the dirt is definitely more of a driver's sport, and it's definitely brings the best out in you.
Well, you've had a lot of success when it comes to dirt, whether it be in a late model or a modified. And we had Jimmy Owens on a couple of weeks ago, and one of the questions I asked him was in a comparison of the two, with what you've been able to do in a modified and what you've been able to do with the late model. I mean, how hard of a transition is that to jump from that modified to that late model and go out there and just be as consistent and as dominant as in one or the other?
I've not drove a modified in a real long time, but I know it's, you got Phillips and them guys that can go back and forth without any problems at all. But, it's hard on the modifieds with the tires. And like I said, I've not driven in a while, so I'm sure they're getting better. But, it's just a late model. You can basically just drive it as hard as you can every lap. And a modified wasn't that way when I was racing them. So it's definitely hard to not overdrive the modified.
Tell me real quick.
Goes back to.
We had a fan question, and I think this will kind of lead off of what you just said. What goes through the process of changing your car setup from track to track, and how hard is that process?
Well, I think that goes to a lot of how prepared you are and what who you have on your crew and who's helping you, like who helps you build your cars. But, some race cars, you don't have to change hardly nothing. You can just change maybe some right front springs or shocks or something like that, go to any racetrack, any size. And then, some race cars it might be wholesale changes, but that's one thing about the Longhorn stuff that was interesting to me was there's not very many changes, like we didn't have any, we didn't make any changes at all throughout the night when we were down there at Clarksville, so that's definitely a good thing. And just kind of depends what shock program you're on, who's helping you. Some chassis builders prefer to change bars and stagger and stuff like that, and other chassis builders, prefer a shock change or spring change. So just kind of the road that whoever's helping you, whatever road they lead you down, is basically what the driver tends to do.
This is interesting what you said about the Longhorn chassis. So you said that was kind of a selling point. One of my questions was, how does the process go when you decide to change chassis? And I think you opened the door for that without even me having to ask it, because obviously a more easier car to set up would probably be a lot better for a driver that travels around like you.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't ever particularly want to change chassis, but sometimes just throughout the process of everybody getting them, sometimes it seems like if everybody has the exact same race car and the same motors and all that stuff, it
kind of levels the playing field.
If everybody just kind of got the exact same thing, more of an IROC race. So, when you do go to switch or make a change, you obviously put in some time and effort, talking to people, seeing who runs good and what stuff, what their driving style is. And, there's lots of race cars out there and they're all good. It's just what'll fit, my driving style the best is what I kind of look off different drivers that, maybe drive similar to me and just kind of do that. But, there's tons of good race cars out there, but not saying that, I could drive them or whatever, but I think there's a certain car that fits everybody.
Let's hit on your driving style a little bit there. Are you you more of a gasser? Are you more of a calculated driver and like to run the bottom, or you just kind of take whatever the track gives you and hope for the best?
I don't know. I feel like, when you travel around and you do have success on different size of tracks and different surfaces, I feel like I'm pretty versatile. But if I just had to pick what I prefer, I prefer tracks that are slicker and where you can race where there's multiple grooves. If I just have to, best case scenario, the hooked up tracks and tracks with cushions and all that stuff. It's I ain't saying anybody's fast, but it's definitely makes it a lot harder to race if the track's more one lane or faster. Once it slows down, it seems to be better racing.
Right. Well, one thing we always kind of like to ask the drivers, we're trying to get people to really recognize and appreciate dirt racing for what it is, and trying to get more people drawn into it. But in from your perspective, especially, your answer to this would be, really more than others, since you've lived on both sides, both pavement and dirt. But what is it about dirt racing, man? I mean, what is it that people just that don't live the life that they don't understand? Dirt racing is just it's something completely more than what NASCAR is, and people just don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I've had some guys that have just been strictly pavement racers, and they went to some races with me, and they're just blown away. Pavement is methodical, and it's hard to race, and it's you're inches from each other, and you got to be smooth, and there's the best drivers out there, obviously, but dirt racing, the drivers are just as good, if not better. They're after the race or whatever, them guys say, they'll say, how in the heck do you slide in the turn a foot from that guy above you and not know he's going to mess up? Well, that's just, I think that's what makes it exciting, because it's every single lap, everybody's just, trying their hardest. So, it's 100% every lap until the checker flag's thrown in the asphalt. It's more planned out, and you know exactly when you need to make your move and when you need to go and stuff like that. Where dirt racing, you might have the dominant car the first 25 laps, and the second 25 laps, the track might have changed, and you might be a 10th place car, but if you got a big enough lead, then you can maybe hold on to it. So it's just, you just definitely go 100% every lap, and it's just, I think it's a lot more exciting.
It's the dirt life.
Definitely.
That's right.
That's right.
It's definitely, like you said, you have to go 110% in these dirt cars. You have, you don't have the luxury of a mirror. You don't have the luxury of a spotter. If second place is close enough, you can hear him. That's your spotter. You need to go a little bit faster for sure. But man, out of all the success that you've had, when you look back at it, what are some of the highlights that really stick out to you? Some of your accomplishments that, when it's all said and done, when people ask you about your career, those will be the first stories you tell.
I don't know. I probably got a bunch, right? Winning your first regional race in the Mars Series that I, watched some of the best racers that I grew up around race, and then, being that, Terry Phillips and Bill Fry and Brad Looney and Stovall, them guys that have won them championships in Mars. And probably the biggest thing that sticks out, and I'm not sure if it'll ever be done again or if they'll even make it possible to be done, but in 2013 I was able to run MLRA and Mars, and we were able to win both the championships, which was the first time that had ever been done. I think it's the only time it had ever been possible, but with the races not overlapping. But that's probably the biggest thing that'll stand out to me is that year right there. It was to be able to win that many races and two championships, or both the regional series that you pretty much basically choose one or the other whenever you go racing here in our area, and to be able to win both those and win the amount of races that we did in 2013, it was pretty extraordinary.
I believe the year was 2005 when you first started getting into a modified. Was it true that the first time you sat in a modified, you went out and you won your heat race and your feature first night in the car?
Yeah. I had owned a mod in 2004, and we just never did race it. I sold it, and that's when we kind of transitioned in from pavement, and I went and bought a car from Scotty Allen. It was his personal car, and I bought it on his shop's only about 30 minutes from mine, and I think I bought it on a Wednesday or Thursday, and we put a motor in it Friday morning and went over there and won our heat race and the feature, and then went back the next week and did the same thing. It was definitely neat. That was a good race car. We had a lot of success in that car. We raced it 9 times that year and won 7, so it was
wow.
A very good car.
Man, you definitely sounds like you've had a very, very good career. Pretty much a whole lot of luck right out of the gate. So, what's people going to be able to catch you at this year? What are your plans?
Hold on, Damien. Hold on. I want to ask him something. You said, a couple of times the championships and the wins. Without bragging, man, how many trophies you got in that shop?
I don't know. When we just racing locally, I give my trophy to one of the fans every week. So, not always, but I just had if they'd ask for it or something, I'd always give it away. So
that's cool. I like that. That's cool.
I don't really know. I'd have to go back and I've been asked that question before. We probably need to sit down and take some time and do that. But I would.
I think the closest number I could come up with to Chris in comparison to feature wins was somewhere in the area between about 175 to 200 in that area.
Nice. Wow. Good job, man.
Yeah, that's probably close. I was gonna guess 150. So that's we've raced for a while, and when we raced
almost 20 years
locally, it was a lot easier to win a lot of races because we raced 3 times a week. So if you had a good weekend, you could win 3 races in one weekend. So, but we've been blessed and we've had a lot of good race cars and a lot of good people helping us, and if everything goes good, maybe we'll be able to run a national series here in the next few years.
Hey man, I just want to know, where's that toilet sitting? What'd you do with it? Did you hook it up? Do you just plant flowers in it? What'd you do with that trophy?
We've got a little
me and Damien had.
a little spot in the shop that where we can sit down and whatnot. There's refrigerator stuff. It's just sitting there beside it right now. We're not really taking the time for it yet. It's still a conversation piece for everybody coming in. So we'll find a spot.
Well, man, tell us where we're going to be able to find you at this year. Where are you going to run?
We'll just do that Mars deal again, and we're going to run all the MLR races. So just about the same thing like always. We'll hit the crown jewels when they come close to us, and just hope the season continues how it started.
Yeah, definitely. You can't ask for a better season to end than the way it started for you down there at the Toilet Bowl. But, Tony, we really appreciate you being on, buddy. TonyJacksonJr.com, Tony Jackson Jr. on Facebook. Do you have a Twitter as well, Tony?
I think my wife, she keeps all that social media stuff going. So she's got some Twitter stuff, and we try to. She's a school teacher, so once she gets out of school and she's at the racetrack, she keeps that stuff going pretty good. Right now it's up to me, so I'm not very good at it, but I'll try my best.
You don't have to worry about the grammar Nazis coming after you if your wife's a school teacher handling that for you, right?
Yeah, that's right. I write something on Facebook, and they want to get on there and tell you spelled something wrong. No.
I know, man. I deal with it all the time, too, man. Good to talk to you tonight, though, Tony.
All right, you too.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, no problem.
There you have it, folks. Tony Jackson Jr., this year's winner of the Toilet Bowl down in Clarksville, got his season kicked off on a good note in that new Longhorn, and sounds like he's pretty happy with that decision he made whenever he was looking for a new chassis over the off-season.
Yeah, I think that was a topic that I'm going to have to do a little bit more research in with those Longhorns. Very interesting. Rosetta Park comes up with a guest question every week now. And so this week her question was, what goes into the typical, setup of a car going from track to track. And, I mean, if I was to come in and spend a whole lot of money in racing to make a little bit back, I think that one of the first things I would go after would be a car that could be set up easier. I think that's
that's probably something that Longhorn has patented, and the other guys are just going to have to play catch up.
Right. Yeah, I'm almost wondering, with the success pretty much that everybody's having right off the bat with these, either there's one or two things that ran through my mind. Either one, they've got amazing tech support. I mean, anytime anybody has a question or a problem, and they call up for their support, they're obviously getting the answers that they need, which is great, because sometimes when you have to play that game, it can take weeks to get a car figured out. Or these guys are really helping each other out to the point where they're sharing information or giving tips, setups. There's something got to be going on, because these cars, I'm telling you, man, they've won a lot of races since they've come right out of the gate, and even this year they're still winning a lot of races. So
there's a popular term going around, Damien, and it's called data. And it's really something that you only heard in tech families 30 years ago, and now all of a sudden you've got race cars drivers getting out for their interviews saying, yeah, once we go over all the data and stuff, it's amazing what technology has been able to bring to the table, especially in auto racing, man. I mean, they can set these little devices in the car that shows exactly where they're losing. It's amazing. It is. Even the way that they hooked the motor up. Matter of fact, Damien, I think that's something we need to bring in. We need to bring in a tech guy for auto racing. So anybody out there listening right now, if you're a tech guy, not the tool tech guy, but I'm talking about like in the tech guy design for auto parts and testing and stuff like that, please give us a call. We'll have you on for a whole hour just picking your brain.
Yeah, we could have 2 or 3 shows on that topic alone. I'm sure people would be glued to their stereo.
I mean, it's even rumored around here that people have this thing called MSG boxes or something that gives positive traction control. I mean, it's so many rumors and myths about certain things that make cars go faster. I want somebody on the show that can really go into maybe the cheating side, the dark side. I don't know. Maybe we need to hush. Maybe we don't want to go there. Okay. So I hear the next guest is floating around, and
Rusty.
I guess we'll go from
I do believe Mr. Schlenk has made his way into the studio, and we're sitting here talking about fast guys and late models, and Mr. Schlenk definitely fits the bill. He coming off a 2015 that was almost storybook, but we'll talk about what happened with the motor issue that may have cost him another national championship. But Rusty, how's it going, man? How you feeling?
Oh, not too bad. Working on race cars, trying to get all the customer stuff done so I can go racing.
Yeah, man, I know you are definitely busy when it comes to doing that. I see your stuff all over social media. How many projects you got going on right now before you can even think about getting your stuff ready?
I've got 2 cars in here right now. They got to be done about midweek this week, and then I can start on my car. But I got about 6 cars I got to have done before the 1st of April, so everybody can get racing. So we're pretty swamped.
Well, man, sounds like you're definitely getting a lot of stuff accomplished. You sound like a busy guy, so I definitely appreciate you taking some time to hang out with us. But, man, let's talk about last season, man. That hell of a season. And myself, like a lot of people, thought you were definitely had that second national championship in the bag.
Yeah, we took it right down to the last week. Bobby Pierce, man, he got on a roll there at the end of the season. There wasn't nothing we could do to stop him. They got their stuff figured out, and they definitely deserve the win. But we led the whole thing up till the last week, and we had so many troubles mid-year with motors and everything that I don't know how we were even there at the end of the year. I drove 4 different race cars. I had 2 buddies let me borrow cars. I won a feature in 4 different race cars.
Man, yeah, I was at the race in Macon where you had motor issues, and you were chasing Pierce down. I thought you definitely had something for him, and then you pulled off the racetrack, and right then and there I was like, that's not good. Was that pretty much the point of the season where you kind of thought that was the last shot?
Yeah, I think you're talking about Quincy. You must be.
That's right, Quincy.
Yeah, Quincy. That was pretty much the shot in the gut right there. If I could have put a couple races there together there at the end of the year, I think we still had a shot at him to win it. But that night, I think we had the car to beat him. We just so many motor troubles, man. They just kept stacking up. We getting ready to pass them there in the heat race for the heat race win and burn a piston. So had to load up and go home. That was a long drive.
I bet it was, man. Hey, man, you do something pretty cool. I know you just had your race party here last weekend or weekend before that or something like that, but you got this thing you do called the Future of the Sport Youth Sponsorship. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a thing we put together about 5 years ago. Everybody does. It seems like everybody around the country now is kind of in the fad where they're doing race parties. So a few years ago we decided to do one, but instead of keeping all the money and throwing it in our program, which we probably should do, but I try and spread the wealth around a little bit. We raise some sponsorship, and I throw in a bunch of my own money, and we have a bunch of kids under the age of 18 that sign up and they turn in their resumes and promote themselves a little bit. It's kind of the same thing that Champion Spark Plugs does, just on a way smaller scale. We let everybody at the race party vote for the winner. This year the winner walked away with about $2,000, and everybody else that entered got about $100. So everybody walks away with something. It's just something I do to try and give back to the kids. I know how hard it was when I was growing up trying to make a living doing what we do. So I try to give back when I can.
Now let me ask you something real quick. Do you earn any points for good promoting kids, and have you been astonished at times with how well these kids can promote their brand at such a young age?
For the most part, yeah. The biggest reason I do this isn't just about the money. It's to try and get the kids used to the social media stuff, to get used to talking on the microphone. We make them talk on the microphone at the party, and I know how it was when I would be a lot farther in my racing program if somebody would have done this for me when I was younger. I know that until I was about 23, 24 years old, you put a microphone in front of my face, I'd run away with a beet red face, couldn't say a word. So that's one of the biggest reasons to do it, is just to try to get the kids used to what they need to do to promote themselves a little bit, and let them know that it's more than just working on the car and then getting out there and performing on the racetrack. There's a lot more that goes into this game nowadays.
That's amazing right there. Very creative. Yeah. Go ahead, Damien.
Yeah, let's talk about talking about you being younger racing. Man, what's the story, man? I mean, growing up in Ohio, what was Rusty Schlenk? Where was he at when he got bit by the racing bug?
We were at a car show. My dad raced a little bit when I was little. He only raced maybe a handful of times ever. We didn't really come from a racing family. We loved it and watched it, but we were at a car show up in Detroit, and I seen a quarter midget and talked my dad into buying me one. It didn't really know what we were in for, and my very first race ever on the racetrack, a kid passing for the lead, kid wadded me up, put me in the wall, wrecked the crap out of the car. I had to go to the tail, and I come back and won it. So it was there was a lot of excitement in that first race. I think that's pretty much what led me to where I'm at now. I've always been a competitive person, and ever since that day, we've just been hooked.
How long have you been doing this now? It's probably been...
What was that?
How long have you been at this now?
I've been racing since I was 6. I'm 29 now, so 23 years. I've been racing a dirt late model since I was 13 now, so this will be my 16th year in a late model.
Wow. One of the cooler things that I have always wanted to see, I saw a couple of guys do this here locally years ago, and I've always wanted to see a series just for trucks on dirt, kind of like what they do at Eldora. But you actually had a truck that you used to run. What kind of truck was that?
It was they got a class here at Oakshade, my home track. That I've raced that since I was little. It's a sportsman class, a lot like a limited late model. But they allow you to run trucks or cars or whatever it is. I mean, it's kind of right between a street stock late model deal. I didn't race with just trucks though. I think there's only 2 or 3 of us when I had that truck that were in a truck. The rest of them were more late model style cars.
Now, was that like an F-150 or a Silverado? What was it?
Yeah, no. It was a complete fabricated body. I mean, it was like a late model body, all aluminum. It was just we built it to look like a truck. So it wasn't really a truck. It had a stock front. I think it had like an F10 front sub under it, and then the rest of it was all tubular frame. It was a 3-link car.
I know you said you got some cars. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, describe to us the difference in setting up a car from going from one track to another track. Is it very complicated in the series that you run?
It can be from time to time, but man, honestly, the most success I've ever had when we get on a roll and start winning some races, we unload with pretty much the same setup from track to track and change the gear and maybe fiddle with a 4-bar here and there, maybe a right front spring. But for the most part, I think most race drivers will tell you the same thing. The bigger name guys, once you get your stuff where you want it, it's pretty versatile. I mean, you can go just about anywhere with the same setup and win races. But if you're struggling mid-season and you're out on the Hell Tour or you're running around a bunch of different tracks, that's when when you're trying to search for something, that's when from track to track, man, we really lose where we're at sometimes if you don't keep careful notes.
So a car's really basically these days is set up to the driver's style, and your style kind of stays the same at whichever tracks you're at.
Yeah, for the most part, especially Midwest racing. I mean, it seems like about every Midwest track you go to, you've got the unzickers that are around the bottom of the tires, and they're really smooth, and it looks like they're going about 20 mile an hour on the inside tires and driving to the front. And then you've got the Bobby Pearsons and the Fakers that are on the same racetrack up on the cushion, turning the wall down. So every driver's got their own setup and their own style, and every once in a while the racetrack will throw something different at you, and you've got to change it up a little bit. And I think that's what makes the professional drivers a little bit different than the local drivers, is they know when to change up that driving style if they have to.
Well, talking about that driving style, what's your driving style? What do you prefer? You prefer to be wide open on the high side, or are you a catfish and trying to get down there on the bottom?
Well, man, I guess it really depends on what car I'm in. When I've had some of my most success, it's been black, dry, slick, racing on glass. That's what I used to love. Back in my Rayburn days, man, we couldn't be beating that thing. If you give me a glass slick track without a cushion, we were driving to the front. But I don't know.
Unfortunately, here in the Midwest, that's what you get a lot, is a dry black track by feature time.
But I mean, here lately, I've been doing a lot better on the cushion racing, and honestly, my guys are always joking with me. If you give me a rough racetrack, I usually somehow figure out how to make it through all the holes and win the thing. I've always been a driver that if the track's different, if it's out of the norm, if it's out of the ordinary, I usually tend to do better than most people. I don't know why. I've just always been that way. I like a driver's track, I guess.
Yeah, you said it right there. I've been around them for several years now, being involved in the dirt tracks behind the scenes in the tower. That's one of the first things you hear at the racetrack. And the track did this and the track did that, but the man who's taking home the trophy told everybody it was a driver's track. So that kind of separates the field right there when you have a driver who can battle like that.
Yeah. I mean that's what racing's all about. That's what I love about it is, for the most part, night to night, you don't get the same thing thrown at you. There's some people that like the track one way and one way only, and when the track's their way, they're going to win the race. But I guess that's what I love about our sport. It's not your normal asphalt track. It's you got to search around and find something that the next guy can't.
I know you've been talking about you've got a lot of cars sitting in your shop right now that you got to get to before you can even get to yours. I mean, what do you offer as far as getting people set up? You offer complete rolling chassis, all fabricated bodies. I mean, what does Rusty Schlenk Racing do to help everybody out?
Yeah, we pretty much do everything but motors here. I send our shocks out too. Our shocks get sent out, but I've got shock packages that I offer people if they come here. I don't have a dyno in house or anything. I send it all. I get it all outsourced, but pretty much anything. You drop the car off. I've got a couple cars in the shop right now that I had to put cockpit decking, body. Mostly I do fabrication. That's what I grew up doing. That's what my dad did. And I kind of took over and turned it into race car bodies, and that's what I've been doing to get through the winters for the last, 8, 10 years. But I do setups, scale work, caster camber, get everything aligned for them. I got one customer that drops his car off every week, and we maintenance it for him. So pretty much whatever you need done, rebuild transmissions, rear ends. It's I'm parts
one-stop shop.
Yeah, pretty much everything.
Now, is there a website or a phone number that people can get a hold of you? Now, is there a website or a Facebook page where people can go to get in contact with you about maybe getting some stuff done with their car?
I've got my racing page, or my Facebook racing page, Rusty Schlenk Race Cars. I don't have a website. I don't have the time or the money to get one going. It's definitely in the near future. I'm starting to grow a little bit. I'm getting a little bigger than I anticipated. So I definitely got to get something going as far as the website and stuff. But no, right now the best way to contact me is on Facebook. If you need anything done, we can handle it for you. We're pretty backed up. I'm backed up until April right now, but once race season here, it usually slows down a little bit for me until fall.
Now, the show's name is the Dirt Talk Hour from the shop to the track, and that's kind of a conversation that we like to bring up with the guys. Tell us about the process, the weekly process of leaving the racetrack and getting back to it at the end of the week.
That's the most important part. That's one of the things I try and teach all the younger guys I help. There's so many times I've left the garage on Thursday night heading to Illinois knowing that I wasn't prepared, and usually when you leave knowing you're not prepared, the weekend doesn't normally go well for you. So from Sunday until Thursday, usually you've got to make sure all your ducks are in a row and go through the car with a fine-tooth comb. I mean, I've won 140 some late model races, and I've got probably 130 of them have been won in the garage.
Absolutely.
That's right.
I know you're ready to get your season kicked off. I'm pretty sure you're going to go back and secure your hold on Oakshade Raceway, but where else are you going to run this year?
As of now, we're planning on running the American Ethanol Tour in Michigan. They got a pretty good deal going on this year. It's like $10,000 to win the points. I think all their weekly shows are like $4,000 to win. We're gonna run that deal, and then I'm probably gonna run most of the ALMS stuff, if not all of the ALMS. There's only one race that conflicts between the two, so probably work on both of those. I won't run a full season at Oakshade. I'll be there on all of our off nights, but and then I'll be.
What is it about that place, man?
What's that?
What is it about that place? I mean, you've got a stranglehold on that track.
Not quite as much as I used to. Everybody's catching up a little bit. Everybody stepped up their game there, but I don't know. That place just fits my driving style. It's always a driver's track. It's one of those tracks I'm talking about that it's never the same week to week. One week you win it on the top, the next week you win it on the bottom, the next week you gotta search around and find some moisture in the holes through the middle. It's a momentum track too, and a lot of people struggle when they come there from a normal track. Anybody from Illinois goes to Oakshade, they usually struggle the first couple times. I don't know. It's just it's a way different racing facility than most. It gets way slicker than most tracks, and it's it doesn't require the traction that most tracks do. You don't have to have that launch up off the corner because it's so round. It's like Eldora. You're always turning, so. More about keeping the momentum up than anything.
Well, man,
I got a quick question real quick.
Go.
Damien, I've stepped on you all night, man. I'm sorry.
You're good, brother. Go ahead.
I got a quick question real quick. Is there any significance in your number, and what is it?
Yeah, the 91 came. My first number was actually number 2. Rusty's not even my name. Most people don't know that. My legal name's Wayne. I've been called Rusty since I was real little. It was just a nickname after Rusty Wallace. He was one of my favorite drivers growing up, and my first race car was number 2 after him, and then my quarter midget. And I think I was 7 or 8 years old. I got my first sponsor. The first person who sponsored me drove a sprint car. He owned Rose City Motors up in Jackson, Michigan. He drove a sprint car. His name's Denny Donaldson, and I kind of took over his number and painted my quarter midget like his sprint car, and it just kind of grew from there.
Absolutely. Man, I know as we get ready for 2016, when you look back over your career, what are some of those highlights that stand out for you, man?
Man, there's a lot. There's so many things that we've done and accomplished that I never expected to, being as low budget and I don't want to say backwoods, but we're definitely a low budget team that makes the most out of what we have. I mean, most people get all their stuff right from the manufacturer and don't have to build anything, but if it can be built, we're building it for our cars or fixing it ourselves. I mean, we race a lot like people used to back in the 90s. We're still carrying that on until today, and I think that's where we have most of our success. And every win is huge to us because of that. But I've won a couple Summer Nationals races, which were huge. My biggest win probably to date is the birthday race at Oakshade, the Summer Nationals finale. There hasn't been any locals to win that race back since I think Chris Patterson back in the 90s. So I'm one of the only locals to ever do it, and that was huge for me. I won a couple at Eldora; those were huge, and pretty much everything in 2010 when that whole year was huge. We won 20 some races and hit a bunch of tracks that I'd never won before. So that was probably the best year to date.
Well, Rusty, we definitely want to thank you for taking some time out to hang out with us tonight, and wish you all the best this year. Hope everything goes great for you. Hope you can make another solid run in the national championship, and hopefully you can get everybody else's junk done before you can start working on your own, buddy.
That's the plan. I gotta head back out to the shop and get back to work here. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and if you ever need somebody to fill in some space, give me a holler, and we'll definitely be back on for you.
Yeah, definitely.
We definitely appreciate that, sir.
It's been great talking to you, Rusty. Now that we know that your real name is Wayne, he's not Batman, y'all. He's not Bruce Wayne, but he is Rusty, and he's out there. And I guess probably the shop work kind of helps out the actual car during race season, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I work on so much different stuff. It helps. Everything we work on kind of helps. I can apply it to my own stuff, and I got so many drivers we work with here local that we kind of got a little R&D group here that we can try stuff, and I learn a lot from my drivers, and they learn a lot from me, and we just keep expanding every year. So it definitely helps boost our program. The more cars I can get my hands on, and the more people I can work with, as long as I don't stop learning, we'll keep winning races.
Good deal, man. Glad to have you on here tonight.
All right, thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rusty. I'm sorry, Wayne. Folks, that's Wayne Rusty Schlenk. That's I should have asked him if he's going to start going by Wayne now that Brad Keselowski took over the old days.
Well, I tell you what, it's really cool to get these guys on here, and I guess only on our show will you find out that a driver's real name. It's amazing what we learn week in, week out. I do think that we have a local driver from my end down here on. His name is Ryan Slade. He drives the F-117 jet fighter, and he's just an avid, follower of the show. Before I bring him on, I do want to thank Kelvin and the Hyatt family for listening. Rosetta Sparks, Tammy Davis, all you guys, y'all are out there. Billy Joe Carpenter, I think it was, or Billy Carpenter. The Dirt Talk Live, Keeping the Sport Alive, that group right there is showing us a lot of love. It's these guys around that are sharing the show and stuff that are help building this thing, and we have a pretty good, solid fan base. And tonight,
yes, we do.
We're going to open this. We're going to go with Ryan here, but we're also going to open the lines up. We want y'all to call into the show and tell us about it. And I've been trying to get this guy on the Redneck Racing Report. And if you're listening tonight, Billy, please get into our host, press 1. I want to hear you on this show because he reminds me a lot of an old guy that we had on our show back a few years ago called Biscuit. Everybody knows Biscuit. He's a big old round, fun-loving, dirt track slinging son of a gun, and he just always kept us rolling. And when you can find a guy like that who can keep smiling and keep things funny, it's definitely entertaining. And if you're listening tonight, Billy, give us a call. We'd like to give you some airtime. But let's move on into Ryan here. Ryan's got some in-house stuff to tell us about. Ryan, you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here, man.
Hey, man.
Hey, what's up, Ryan?
On the phone here.
Hey, how's it going?
You've been held back over here for almost an hour, but you're an avid listener, and we do appreciate the the following of the show. Ryan, we've talked a lot. You're coming off of, I guess, 2 consecutive wins, right? In the
yeah, that's right, in the Pure Street. We won the last race of the season. Yeah, we won the last race of the season last year, and then we won the first race of the season this year. And all this rain got rained out this past weekend. But yeah, we got our program figured out.
Now, Ryan, you and I have talked, and you said that, you know, what a lot of people don't know about you is everything you do is in-house. Tell us about the process of building a car from scratch, from the body work to the motor work. It takes a lot more into a single-car race team than it does for a lot of these other guys.
Oh, yeah, it sure does. I mean, the main reason we do it is because, I mean, we're racing on a budget, you know. That's why we race the bottom of the class. My dad was an engine builder around here locally for many years and is pretty well known. He has since retired, but you know, he pretty much has that end covered for us, and the fabrication work and the sheet metal work and stuff like that is just something I really enjoy doing. I like to weld and like to build stuff. My background is pretty much body shop, and most body men are kind of the do it all kind of people anyway, you know.
Right, so it's basically a family of your own mechanics. I mean, you've got one guy that kind of works on the motor. You're a fabricator. You know, your dad helps on the motors. You're the fabricator. You kind of got a family of job doers around you, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, we've got another couple of guys that help out, and I mean, they do a real good job. My right hand man Joey, he can pretty much do anything I can do, and he's right there by me on pretty much everything. And then we got a new guy that kind of started helping us out the first of the season this year. He's real anxious to learn and doing good.
How long have you been at this, Ryan? I mean, obviously it sounds like you guys, between you and your dad, you've got a lot of knowledge that you put into your own program. But how long have you been at it, and what got you interested in racing?
Well, I grew up around racing. My dad was an old-time drag racer, and later on, whenever I got old enough to race go-karts, we raced go-karts a little bit, and after that, tried to get into some dirt track racing, which was really my true passion. As I got a little bit older, I could tell that he really liked the drag racing and stuff like that. So we went back drag racing and did that for many years, traveled around a lot, did a lot of bracket racing and such. And he pretty much got to the point where he didn't feel like he wanted to race anymore. And we were both just sitting around here for a couple of years, not really doing nothing. Had some motorcycles and stuff like that. And I made the mistake of going back out to the dirt track one night and kind of got the bug again, and we went and got a car and haven't looked back. But we raced about half the season last year and planning on racing from now on.
How long did it take to put that car together, and when did you decide to put the crew together to go back dirt track racing?
Well, I had been thinking about it for a little while. Been talking with my buddy Joey, the one I was talking about, my right hand, for a couple of months, and somewhere around Christmas, I guess 2014, I decided that it was time to do it, and within a week we had bought a car that was turnkey that had been sitting up a little bit, and we completely stripped it down and got it legal for our class. Our goal was to make it by the first of the season, but it wound up being around mid-season before we actually got back out there. You pretty much know, Chris, how the story goes after that. We ran a few races and then got in a pretty good crash, and we had to sit out a few.
Yeah, and you were coming on strong there, and I didn't understand the back seat. You know, so many times these guys, hit the wall, then they're out there the next week, and now I'm understanding the process of your shop a little bit more now, and the importance it is to keep the car out there on the racetrack. The one thing I never understood in dirt track racing is the guy goes and buys a brand new chassis and sells last year's, but keep the number one chassis rolling. How do you keep the game rolling if your number one chassis goes down? I think that's something that I guess you build yourself up to.
Right, I guess so. I mean, that was the main thing last year. Whenever we got in that collision, it cost us about $1,500 and about 3 weeks worth of work. Just working in the evenings, because we all have regular jobs during the day and stuff like that. But we had to do a lot of roll cage rebuilding. Had to put a whole new rear end housing in it, new axle, and it takes time doing it all yourself.
Back pocket racing right there, guys. I mean, this is true bred. I mean, this is a guy that, decided to come back into racing and you represent your sponsors really well, and you are not shy to come on camera. Rusty hit on a great spot about giving kids an opportunity to promote themselves. I want to ask you about that. What do you think about maybe adding something like that in our area, Ron?
Yeah, man. I mean, anything that would help improve the sport, I'm for. We try to do as much for our sponsors as they do for us, and I think that's what really gets us the little bit of backing that we do get. The people that do back us 100%. I mean, they're really good people, and whenever I do get a race win, as soon as I get pictures in, I'm taking them a picture and thanking them and such as that, and hoping that their name being on my car is helping their business as well.
Right. Now, you said something about backing, and you've talked about your team support. I want to bring on your crew chief, your right-hand man, and your other shop help here. Guys, are y'all on the line?
I'm here.
Yeah, that's Joey.
Hey, here we go.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, introduce us to these guys. Ryan, go ahead and take the floor for a minute. Me and Damien are going to sit back.
I'm sorry. All right. This is, Joey Ryan. He's my crew chief, right-hand man, whatever you want to call him. He pretty much has no backing in racing until he got involved with it with me. I've known him about 10 years. And then we got the new guy, Gabe.
The new guy. Hey, Rook.
Yeah. But he's real anxious to learn and doing a good job.
Now, as far as the new guy goes, what kind of stuff you got him doing?
Yeah, how did you even get him in the sport? Come on.
Well, his dad is an old racer. Has raced some dirt track stuff in the past, and he's always liked, watching it and such as that. And he just hit me up in the off season and kind of asked if he could kind of help a little bit, and I said, well, sure. And I mean, we got him changing tires. He's going to be my guy down in the hot pit this year. If we have a flat, maybe we can get back on the track. And
so he's definitely bringing some experience and some knowledge to the table. It's not like he's coming in green, right?
Right. Well, I mean, he's. I don't think he's got very much experience as far as being around cars or working on them. But
he's a Granny Smith apple. He just ain't a sour.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean, he's definitely one of those guys that goes out to the track every week and watches and is interested in it. And within the next couple of years, I would imagine both of them will wind up having a car of their own.
It's amazing to find somebody who's willing to learn, Ryan. And those people, I heard something the other day on a popular talk show host. He said, I've never found somebody who was willing to learn that become unsuccessful. And those are really true words right there. And to hear about this younger man developing, it's really cool that you've given him the opportunity. Now, let's go to the crew chief real quick. Crew chief, how is it maintaining this driver on a weekly basis, keeping him motivated?
Oh, keeping him motivated is easy. He's well self-motivated. He keeps us motivated, actually. But No, my job is easy. I just go out there and make sure that he's got what he needs, make sure that he's ready to go out on the track when he's getting suited up and getting in the car. Make sure that the car is ready to go out on the track. If we've done a tire change, I just make sure that the right tire's on the car, the lug nuts are tight. If we put fuel in it, make sure that we put the fuel in it, make sure that the gas cap's back on, things like that, Watch for things that we've missed in the past and don't miss them this time,
Fuel cap, huh? You've heard of the myth of the man named Fuel Cap.
Well, we had a gasket on the fuel cap that folded up, and we were out there. We were looking pretty good, and then we got sent to the infield because we were leaking something. It turns out we were sloshing fuel out of the tank because the gasket had messed up. And we don't make that mistake anymore.
Right.
What's the communication between the two of you like? I mean, can you pretty much tell what he needs in the car and what he wants it to do, or does he have to kind of alter that between races, or how do you guys go about that?
Right now it's a lot of, Ryan runs his race, and then when he comes back in, he and I talk, and I'll ask him how he was feeling, how the track was feeling, how the car was feeling. He'll give me some feedback, and he'll ask me how he was looking, and I'll give him feedback. And we do a lot of communication after the race like that. We don't really have any hand signals or anything like that we're doing during the race. I have a receiver as well as he does, so that I can hear what the tower is saying to all the drivers, just because I want to know what he's hearing in the car, when a caution comes out or when there's a problem on the track. But other than that, all of our communication happens after the race.
What kind of setup does he normally like to have in his car? Is he more of a loose driver? Is he like a kind of neutral, a little tight?
It really depends on how the track's looking at that time.
So we're talking about a dry slick racetrack a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it depends night to night and race to race. I mean, because Chris, I know you can vouch for this. Out there at Hattiesburg, that track can change fast on you, and from one night to the next, the track can feel and look completely different. And the guys out there are doing a good job on getting the track ready for us every Friday night. But it just depends on how many cars we got running and whether or not it's a sprint car night or anything like that. And what kind of weather we've had that week. That track she can mislead you. She can look one way while you're getting out there qualifying, and by the time the feature comes, she's a completely different animal.
Yeah, let me hit on that real quick. Being that y'all are the Pure Street class, how different is it to run the last race? How difficult does it make it to run the last race of the night when the track's already sealed in? Does that add a lot more experience to the driver?
I think it makes it a lot more challenging for the driver, because especially in the Pure Street class, you have a lot of younger and you have a lot of more inexperienced drivers out there. So you're giving them a rougher track sometimes, and you're giving them a more difficult track to run on, and they don't have the experience of some of these other drivers to run on a track like that. And considering those difficulties, I think sometimes they do a really good job. And, they put on one heck of a show.
Right. It's been one of our top classes, and it's really been a powerhouse because most of you guys like a slick track. I see a lot of you cut sideways, the cars going into a drift, and that's kind of the way the guys that run up front really like the track.
Right.
Yeah, Chris. I mean, you are correct. Me personally, I like it a little bit tighter. Track was real slick the last race, and I don't know. Just watching the video, to me the car kind of looked like an asphalt car out there. It didn't get sideways very much, but we got it back home. Good, I got it on the scales and figured out why. Definitely a little bit looser is a little bit faster, but if you can't control it, you definitely can't be up front.
Yeah, that seems to be the challenge in that class, what is too loose. And with the track changing the way it does, I think it adds a little bit more to the difficulties.
Right, and in our class, it's a lot harder to make changes than in some of the other classes because we don't have weight jacks or anything like that. That last race out there at Hattiesburg, we made a spring change between every time we was out on the track. We had some kind of different spring somewhere in it.
Now, you talked a little bit about the new guy. Is he here on the line with us, too?
Gabe, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good. How are y'all?
Oh, not too bad. Now, we understand that you're the newest member of the team there. What have you gotten to learn so far working with these guys? And
how to win.
Here's a quiz.
How to win, Damien. Look at him. He's already winning.
Well, I got a quiz for you. And being that you're the new guy, this is always the new guy on the team's job, okay?
Don't change your underwear. Don't change your underwear. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, here's the quiz. First night of the season, racing's over. I walk over to the cooler, open it up. What kind of beer's in the cooler?
Well, there at Hattiesburg, they don't really allow something like that. So I mean, come on, you can't really. I mean, it's usually at Ryan's Pit. It's usually Coke.
I'm telling you, Damien, we're different around here, man. It's a lot different around this side.
Damien, we keep them Dr. Pepper's ice down over there at the Jet Party.
That's exactly right.
That's always been a long-standing tradition here in the Midwest. When the races are over, that's when the real party begins.
So is that Gabe's job to make sure that the Dr. Peppers are iced down? Tell us a little bit more about what Gabe does on a weekly basis.
Oh yeah, Gabe's pretty much our tire guy right now. Showing him ropes on prepping tires and getting ready for race night, and then he handles the tires. Just gives something. Another thing Joey ain't got to think about. He can tell Gabe what to put on it, and Gabe can get it done.
Gabe, how do you like your job so far? Oh man, you did it again, Damien. We're gonna have to have a talk about this one. We're gonna have to have a talk in the pits at the trailer, man.
Stick your head out the door and tell me if you can see this pit board from 500 miles away.
Right. Gabe, tell us about coming out the door and getting that win. Did you expect that, bud?
Like Ryan said, last season, with Dad, Dad got out of racing. I wanted to get back into it. I don't have a lot of help. So, as he said, Mr. Herschel, his dad, did a lot of engine building. He built Dad's motors for years while he was in the dirt track scene. And, I seen Ryan. He had started off mid-season like he said last year, and I said, you know what? They were part of our family so much. I want to try to, give back to what Mr. Herschel done to my dad. So I messaged Ryan on Facebook, and we got it going, and it kind of went from there. I met Ryan at his shop. He gave me the lowdown, and Ryan, like he said, Mr. Herschel and Ryan has been around dirt track racing practically all their life with the engine builder scene, and it's like when I pulled up Friday night, first of the season, I looked at the car, I looked at competition, and I'm thinking like, Ryan, come on, man, we got this, and it's not like it's not because I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying, I just know Ryan, and he's gonna do what it has. It's just part of it. I mean, he's gonna do what it takes to win, and that's it.
That's right. You're showing y'all have what we call teamwork. I think it's something that we have with the radio group here. We're able to motivate each other. We're able to push each other along, and in that moment, I mean, it's just like, hey, go out there and kick their butt. You know what I mean? It's nothing offensive to anybody. It's just let's go do this. when I look at my wife just before we get to a racetrack, everybody, I mean, you know, I'm an announcer. Well, there's preparation in that too. And when I go through those gates, I have to turn off whatever's bothering me, whatever I've been thinking about, whatever daily issues you deal with. And so I look at my wife sometimes at the moment we're going through that gate, and it's like I have to transform, and I'm like, let's do this. I'm in it to win it. Hashtag it, baby. You know what I mean?
I'm the same way.
Yeah. I mean, that's just like Ryan. He's going to do what it takes to win, even if it's breaking. You know, like he come in from the heat races, he said, you know what, it's not feeling right. We got to do a spring change. You know, we've done that. It's done a little better, and we end up winning the race Friday night, and for the first of the season. And that's how Ryan is, and that's how, you know, Mr. Herschel and the Slade family has always been. They're in it to win it.
That's it, baby.
And they're going to do what they got to do to be up front, and that's it.
That's it. This is kind of our laid back, you guys. You know, we do it. You know, the first hour we're kind of, you know, we want to really hit the emphasis of racing. We want to bring these guys on. A lot of the stars that come on here, we understand it takes everybody in racing to make it work. We don't show favoritism from one class to the other. But the actual second half of the show, the 30 minutes that we do here, is kind of a kickback time. We're more animated, I think, in this time period, and it really it kind of gives our local guys a chance to get out their stuff and really having the crew chief and the help. Man,
that's awesome.
It's put a new twist to the show right here. It's really good to have you guys on.
Yeah, we all appreciate it, Chris. Happy to be on and happy to just talk about dirt racing, man.
Yeah, that's what we like to do.
Let's talk about where you're going to run this year. Where are you guys planning on running this year, man?
Our main goal this year is points races at Hattiesburg Speedway. If we do good enough later on in the year, we might can come up with a set of H500s and maybe try to go run some Neesmith races towards the end of the year. I know we'll be a little bit out card in that class, but I think we could still do it and be fairly competitive.
Take a look at your long-term goals here. Where do you hope to get? I mean, where would you ultimately like to end up and call home? What class?
If I could wind up in a crate late model, man, I'd be happy. I'm not looking for anything real big time or anything like that. My ultimate dream would be maybe one year get to go run the Tulsa Shootout and the Chili Bowl.
Oh, man,
they're back to back there a few weeks over there in Oklahoma. But
I really like your answer. A lot of guys, when you ask them where they would like to end up in racing, a lot of them immediately say, well, they would like to run the Lucas Oil Series, or they'd like to run, wing sprint cars with the World Outlaws. And I think you're the first person that's ever said, I'm really happy in a great late model. That's pretty cool. That says a lot.
Whenever I was younger, I had a dream of being an world outlaw driver and such as that. And as I've grown up, I've realized that that's probably not a feasible goal. But just racing on the local level is my what I like to do. What I like to do.
The way that you built your operation shows that you're in it for the long term, and a lot of people don't understand when you're a back pocket racer such as Ryan, going in house really it doesn't cost you less, it costs you more, but it keeps the dream going further. In other words, when you're fabricating your own, when you're doing your own lettering, you're not coming out of pocket to pay somebody to do that. In the end, for a back pocket racer or a income based race team, those are the give and take to have success and still be independent.
Absolutely,
that's it, Chris. And I mean, we kind of take pride in our car, all the work that goes into it. Like I said, Joey can pretty much do anything I can do. He's, been right there by my side through a lot of different things over the last 10 years, and Gabe will get to the point to where he can too, I'm sure. I'm already getting on him. We're fixing to teach him how to weld here pretty soon.
What do you think, Gabe? You got any desire to get in the driver's seat?
Who?
Gabe, you got any desire to get in the driver's seat?
Well, I mean, I do. I found a car actually, 2 weeks ago. I called Ryan and I said, "Look, Ryan, we need to go look at this car." And I'm actually in school. Dirt track racing is a family tradition that has always been in my family, and it's kind of faded, And since my grandpa passed away, he was the one that kept it alive. And
right.
I've talked to my dad, and I've talked to my family, and they've always shot me down, and I'm just here. I keep telling them, I'm going to be the one that brings it back, and and if I have to be on board with Ryan, that's fine. Jet fighter racing is not it's this is just a start. There would be more.
Listen to this guy.
Yeah, Gabe is definitely eager to get behind the wheel, and Joey is too. But Joey has other obligations that he's got to take care of first, which is understandable.
Okay, say there's a mechanics race. Which one gets to go in the car?
Probably be Joey at this point.
Man, it sounds like you got the right group of guys behind you with just as much motivation and drive to succeed and do well as you do. So I can't foresee anything but positive things coming out of you guys for 2016.
Well, thanks so much, man. We definitely gonna try, and we're definitely gonna have fun. That's the main goal.
Oh, that's what it's all about. We appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us, man. And like I said, I'm sure you guys will get to see and talk to Chris a lot more than you'll see me. But, man, give her hell this year. Congratulations on success early on, and I hope it continues for you, man.
Yeah, thank you very much, Damien. I guess we'll talk to y'all later on then.
Hey, Ryan,
absolutely.
before you go, I cannot let you leave without giving some love to those sponsors, man. I mean, you go out there, you self-promote yourself. You're just doing everything you can to make sure that your race team stays around for a while. Don't forget those sponsors, man. Let's hear some of them.
Man, well, I appreciate that. And we got Buxton's Car Quest. They do a whole lot for us. AC Parts and Equipment. Gatwood Auto Sales, Top Secret Innovations, CNS Cable, and would also like to thank my mom and dad both for all their help and support they do, as well as Gabe and Joey, the rest of the Jet Fighter team there.
Tenfold. Been good having you on, and good luck on the points race this year. I think the class is going to continue to grow. We expect some more cars there. As the season comes along, your competition is only going to get harder. And the temperature's only going to get hotter. So good luck to you guys this year.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
All right, thank y'all for being on the show here. Damien, another great show. Producer, before we go, did you learn anything? What did you learn today, producer? Jason,
he has learned that silence is golden.
He went to sleep.
Hey, you guys had a lot of people in the studio. I had to find my own phone number in the studio, and
that's a good thing.
Yeah, we never took any calls. They were supposed to be a call-in. It was supposed to be open mic night. Oh my gosh, I'm horrible. Hey, look, if there is anybody out there that wants to direct our forum for us, because we get so involved with these guests that I want to do the internet thing too. But we really need to bring somebody on to help us. If you're out there and you want to help this show in any way, and you think that you could handle the forum for us here in the radio show, we'd love to give you a shot. Hey, let's take some calls real quick if they're still in the studio. Anybody there?
Yeah, if anybody wants to come on, press 1. I got one in the studio. Yeah, I got one in the studio. Hold on. I think that's the same.
I know we're going a little bit over. I know, right? But, man, I dropped the ball, y'all. I dropped the ball. But I did give the open door. Okay, hey, what's up?
Hey, if anybody in the studio that got any questions or wants on the show, go ahead and press 1. I do have one in the studio now.
All right, go ahead.
Hey, caller, who's this?
Hey, this is Rosie.
Hey, Rosie.
Hey.
How are you?
Thanks. I've been following the show, and I have a few questions if you don't mind answering them.
Shoot.
Go ahead.
First of all, I want to say hi to Chris Cunningham.
Hello. How are y'all? It's cricket time.
Hey. Well.
No.
First, I want to say thank you so very much. Racing, I got started hanging out with the racing world last year or the year before, and it really has inspired me because I have autism, and to see each of y'all out on the track inspires me to do so much more in my own life, because living with autism is like a race. Each day is a race in itself, and you all inspire me. But I have some questions regarding the different tracks. In Arkansas, we have dirt and we have clay. Is there very much differences between the different size tracks and the different materials that they're made of and how a driver would put up their car?
Yeah, great question, Rosetta. And a lot of this comes down to, like, around here, if you're around the central side of Mississippi, you're in the foothills of the Smokies. So you have a lot of clay. So we have a lot of clay tracks around the mid part of Mississippi and Alabama, a lot of red dirt. Now, as you get closer to the coast, you run into a sand problem. And I visited my first track. I've actually been to two tracks that are on the coast. And, you know, it really makes a difference in the speed of the cars by what kind of track you're on. A lot of sandy tracks, you have a lot of rear tire spin. On clay tracks, you have dry slick, you know, and then you have some tracks that are blacked out, like I think our first caller was talking about. A lot of the Midwest tracks are, where they're flat and real slick, or real slippery, and so there is.
I've seen that a few times at Batesville, where I love to go, and after probably a couple of races, there's basically a black slick laid down, and it amazes me how this old clay would just firm up and become like asphalt.
Well, I used to live down in your neck of the woods, and the thing about Arkansas is it's kind of hit and miss with each track that you go to. There's tracks in like I-30. That's a dirt track. Yeah, you get down a little bit further south. One of the nicest facilities racing surfaces I've ever seen in my life is at the Murfreesboro Speedway. It's a progressive high bank 3/8 mile red clay track, and I guess clay holds moisture a little bit better. As Chris was saying, sandy tracks, they're very porous. It doesn't allow the dirt to stick together, so that's why you get a lot of the slickness in that. But a lot of those tracks down there are momentum, too. Arkansas's got a lot of big, high-banked, wide-open tracks, and those tracks versus your smaller tracks, momentum really is key. So I don't know if that helps you out a little bit, but...
Well, the thing about it is that I know around here clay is a fairly common thing, and if you stick your foot in after it rains, well, you've got your car's probably going to weigh down a couple 100 pounds because of the clay. But it amazes me how different, you know, from one area to another. Because, I mean, when I went to Batesville, it was completely different than I-30. And I-30 is, as you say, different. It amazes me so much about this world. And I also have one unique question.
What's up?
Has any of you run into other people who are autistic and who like the racing world and have interacted with them throughout your racing career?
My little girl, I have a 4-year-old daughter who is autistic, and she loves racing. She loves any kind of competition. She loves. I mean, she's a daddy's girl. I mean, she likes hockey. I like hockey, so naturally she likes it. She loves racing. I mean, she can't get enough of it. She's very particular in some of the things that she likes and don't like, but I've noticed that anything competitive that makes her want to strive and achieve more, she's gung-ho all about it.
It opens the door to her. And I wanted to say thank you so very much for allowing me to come into the show and to talk and to communicate, and to say my thanks to the entire dirt track racing world for being such an inspiration to me.
Hey, well, we appreciate it. Thank you for being on.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Rosie. Man, that's a
anybody else in the studio with us?
I think we got a 662 number. You're live and on the air. Let's make it quick. Who is this? You're live. Go ahead and send the numbers through there, Jason.
It's true. They're on.
You're live and on the air.
You're live. I can hear
All right,
you breathing. Well, what do you think, man? It's been another great show. Tony Jackson Jr. on with us, Rusty Schlenk, Ryan Slade. And, hey, I want to touch on his new guy a little bit. That man has got some passion about racing, don't he?
Hey, Gabe was fixing to give us a whole another hour, okay?
He was.
He was. He's passionate, man. He's passionate. And that's what this sport needs, man. If you're at home and you want to be a part of racing, go out there, go harass somebody. I'm only where I am, and just by being able to get into a racetrack because I was that passionate about it. I tracked people down, I begged, and I did things that I probably wouldn't have ever done just to get into the sport. And that's the drive. If you have that kind of drive, that kind of passion, please go find a race team, go find a track owner. They may blow you off a couple of times, but that's the process, man. And if they offer you a job, take it. Whatever the job is, take it. Because take that job. And the first thing that you're going to say is, well, I won't be able to watch the race. But look, man, it's okay because now you're a part of the race, and that's the dirt light. And it goes from the shop to the track. That's what we push here on this radio show, from the shop to the track, man. I'm telling you. Damien, it was a great night. We've got to work on the issue of stomping on each other. Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to not give him any sign or communication when we were speaking back and forth. Hopefully we kept all of y'all for the hour and a half here that we've been on. Awesome to hear Rosie call in, and it's really, I think with what you just said about your daughter, really connected to her. It connected to me. It's a heartwarming moment. There's a lot of issues that we have with children these days, and I tell you what, bring them to the dirt track. They'll find a family there, a community. I don't believe like a lot of people that the community raises the child. I believe that's your responsibility to raise your child, but you do have to put your child involved in the community, and that's where our scene, where the dirt track is, that community, that's where you're welcomed at. And I think that we take all types of people into dirt track racing. And you know what? Everybody has a place, whether you're a flagman, a scorekeeper. I think that's another thing that, so many times the scorekeepers, that is an art in itself. I promise you, I sit next to people every Friday night, and I'm just astonished at what they have to do, because you have to have 3 people to watch a monitor, because it takes those 3 people working off of each other. And I've seen them do it with 2, and I've seen 1 do it. But let me tell you something. Those people that can just do it by themselves, that they've been around racing a long time, and they've got a really good talent. It is very complicated. The sport has... Yeah, they say the sport's for dummies. You have never been to a racetrack. This is a sport for geniuses, and we want to get you involved too. Be a dummy and listen to our show every Sunday night, 8 Eastern, 8 Central Time. I ain't telling y'all to be a dummy now. I'm just saying listen to our show, okay? It's past my bedtime, and I do appreciate y'all listening. I'm like Steve. I'm getting old now, and so... but we do thank y'all for listening. The best of us, man. Hey, it is all good. Thank y'all for being here tonight. Jason, what did you learn tonight? I think I missed that.
Rusty's real name is Wayne.
His real name is Wayne.
Boom. Rusty's real name
I didn't even know
Wayne.
that. I've been a Rusty Schlenk fan for years.
Hey, we find out it all right here, and I like that too. To ask the producer, I think we're going to use that one from here on out. So, producer, make sure you're learning something every show, okay?
Yep.
All right, guys.
Alrighty,
thank
folks.
y'all very much.
Thank you for tuning in, and we hope to have each and every one of you back next week. Tell a friend, grab a friend, take them to a racetrack, and let's keep this dirt thing going. So, until then, we will talk to you all later.
All right, Dirt Life. Check it out, dirtlife.net. See y'all.
# in it to win it.
# in it to win it.